At number 10 spot, we have the Mercy Brown vampire incident. Many of you guys might know about this one. The Mercy Brown vampire incident took place in 1892 on Exeter, Rhode Island. At the time, the town was plagued by a series of deaths caused by a mysterious illness which is now known today as tuberculosis. However, at the time, they believed it was a curse placed on the town by vampires. The incident centered around the Brown family, who had lost several members to the illness. In an effort to lift the curse and save the remaining family members, it was decided that the body of the recently deceased daughter, Mercy Brown, would be exhumed and her heart would be burned. This was because when they checked up on all the family members, they noticed that she was showing no sign of decomposition and there was still blood in her heart. On the night of the exhumation, a group of men gathered at the cemetery to perform the ritual. As they were prepared to burn her heart, one of the men noticed that there was fresh blood on her lips. This was seen as a sign that Mercy was in fact a vampire, and the decision was made to also burn her liver and stake her through the heart to ensure that she could never rise again. The incident caused a sensation at the time and was widely reported in the newspaper. It was sparked debate about the existence of vampires and the proper way to deal with them. Despite the efforts of the men in the cemetery that night, the illness continued to plague the town, leading many to believe that the curse was never truly lifted. At a number 9 spot, we have Fingernails Freddy. Fingernails Freddy was a notorious figure in the small town of Cumberland, Rhode Island. Known for his long, sharp fingernails that were rumored to be laced with poison, Freddy was what many people feared. He was said to have been born with a rare genetic condition that caused his nails to grow at an alarming rate, and he honed his deadly claws by sharpening them on the stones of the local river. Despite his fearsome reputation, no one knew much about Freddy's past or why he had chosen to live in isolation in the woods around the town. Some said that he was a former circus performer who had been cast out by his troupe for his dangerous and his unpredictable behavior. Others whispered that he was a mad scientist who had conducted gruesome experiments on animals in his secret laboratory deep in the forest. Regardless of what he was, it wasn't until 3 kids got murdered in the woods here when the town started to believe in the legend more. But as the years passed, Freddy's reign of terror began to fade, and the legend ends with a group of brave hunters venturing into the woods to track him down. And apparently they eventually cornered Freddy in his lair, and yeah, you get the rest. At number 8 spot, we're the Flying Dutchman of the Narragansett Bay. Flying Dutchman time! Oops, not that one. The Flying Dutchman of the Narragansett Bay is a ghost ship that is said to sail the waters of the bay and cursed to roam the seas for eternity. According to the legend, the Flying Dutchman was once a mighty ship that plied the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It was commanded by a fearless captain and crewed by a dedicated and loyal team of sailors. However, the ship met its doom when it was caught in a violent storm off the coast of Rhode Island. Despite their best efforts, the captain and his crew were unable to save the ship. It was battered by the storm and eventually capsized, sinking to the bottom of the bay. The captain and his crew were all lost, and their spirits were doomed to roam the waters of the bay till the end of time. Since that fateful day, the Flying Dutchman has been sighted many times by locals and visitors to the bay. Some have even claimed to have heard the ghostly voices of the captain and his crew crying out in desperation and despair. Many believe that the Flying Dutchman is cursed and that anyone who sees the ghost ship will suffer a terrible fate. Some have reported feeling a sense of fear and dread when they come into contact with the ghost ship, as if they're being warned to stay away. At our number 7 spot, we have the Newport Tower. The Newport Tower is a mysterious stone structure located in the city of Newport, Rhode Island. The origins of the tower are shrouded in mystery, and it has been a subject of much speculation and debate over the years. Some believe it was built by Vikings, while others believe it was built by Portuguese explorers. Regardless of who built it, according to the legend, the Newport Tower is said to be cursed. Locals claim that anyone who dares to enter the tower will suffer a terrible and, most of the time, gruesome fate. Despite the warnings, many people who have ventured inside of the tower have reported strange and inexplicable occurrences. The most common things reported here are screams of disembodied voices and the feeling of something or someone holding your ankle. One of the most chilling stories associated with the tower is that one day a group of young students decided to spend the night inside here. And only after one night, the students were never seen or heard from again, and their fate remains a mystery to this day. The legend of the Newport Tower continues to captivate the imaginations of locals and visitors alike. Despite the many theories and stories surrounding the tower, its true origins and purpose still remains a mystery. Some say it is a portal to another realm, while others believe it holds the key to ancient secrets and hidden knowledge. But what do you guys think is inside here? Could it just be an old lighthouse? Who knows? At our number 6 spot, we have the Perron family. The Perron family haunted house is a true story that has been adapted into a popular horror film called The Conjuring. The Perron family, consisting of husband Roger, wife Carolyn, and their 5 daughters, moved into a large secluded farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island in 1971. At first, the family was excited to move into their dream home, but they realized that something was not quite right. Strange noises and eerie presences were felt throughout the house, and the family began to experience terrifying occurrences on a daily basis. The haunting became more and more intense, with objects moving on their own and furniture being thrown across the room. The family also heard footsteps, voices, and even saw ghostly apparitions wherever they went. Desperate for help, the parents turned to the renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren for assistance. The Warrens conducted a series of exorcisms and other rituals, but the haunting continued to escalate. The family was forced to live in constant fear, with some members even being physically attacked by the malevolent spirits that haunted the house. After living in the house for 10 years, the parents were finally able to break free from the spirits and move out. Today, the old farmhouse still stands, an eerie reminder of the terrifying events that took place within its walls. In the hump of our list, we have the Ladd School. The Ladd School is said to be haunted by the ghosts of former patients who once lived there. The Ladd School was founded as the Rhode Island School for the Feeble-Minded in 1908. It was originally intended to be a place where people with mental and physical disabilities could live and receive more care. However, over the years, the school had become known for its inhumane treatment of their patients, including instances of physical and psychological abuse. Many of the former patients who lived at the Ladd School have reported seeing ghostly figures wandering the halls and hearing strange noises coming from the empty rooms. Some have even claimed to have been touched or grabbed by unseen hands. One particularly eerie story coming from this place is of a former employee who worked at the school in the 1980s. They claim that one night while they were working the night shift, they heard a loud banging noise coming from one of the patients' rooms. When they went to investigate, they found the room was completely empty and the door locked from the inside. To this day, she had no explanation for what could have caused the noise, let alone whatever locked her inside of that room. Another ghostly encounter at the Ladd School involved a group of students who were visiting the school as part of a field trip. They reported seeing a ghostly figure standing at the end of a hallway, staring at them with a blank expression. When they approached the figure, it suddenly vanished right into thin air. At our number 4 spot, we're the Rose Island Lighthouse. The Rose Island Lighthouse is a historic and iconic landmark located in Narragansett Bay. Built in the early 18th century, the lighthouse has served as a beacon of hope and guidance for ships navigating the treacherous waters of the bay. However, over the years, the lighthouse has also gained a reputation for being haunted, with many people claiming to have experienced strange and unexplained occurrences within its walls. According to the legend, the ghost of a former lighthouse keeper named Captain James T. Waring is said to haunt the lighthouse. Captain Waring was the lighthouse keeper at the time of the American Revolution, and it is said that he died in the lighthouse under mysterious circumstances. His ghost is said to roam the halls and rooms of the lighthouse, and many people have reported seeing him or feeling his presence while they visit. Other stories about the lighthouse include the ghost of a young woman who's said to have drowned in the bay. Her ghost is said to appear on the shores of the island, beckoning to those who come near. However, the Rose Island Lighthouse remains a fascinating and mysterious place, and it is sure to continue to capture the imagination of those to hear its haunting tales. At our number 3 spot, we have the Brenton Point State Park. The Brenton Point State Park, located in Newport, Rhode Island, is a beautiful and peaceful place that is popular with tourists and locals alike. However, it is also the site of a scary legend that has been passed down through the years. According to the legend, the park is haunted by the ghost of a young girl who drowned in the ocean nearby. The story goes that the girl's parents were wealthy and lived in the mansion, but they were very strict and didn't allow her to have any fun. One day, the girl decided that she had enough of her mundane life and ran away to the beach. She was determined to have some fun and enjoy the freedom that she always craved. But as the sun began to set, the girl started to feel a sense of dread wash over her. She realized she had no way back home and that her parents would be very angry with her when they found out what she had done. Just as she was starting to panic, a handsome young man walked up to her and offered to take her home. The girl was relieved and gratefully accepted his offer. However, as they walked around the shoreline, the young man revealed that he was actually a ghost. He told the girl that he had drowned in the ocean years ago and that he'd been looking for someone to take his place in the afterlife. The girl was terrified and tried to run away, but the ghost grabbed her and dragged her into the water. Now it's said that the ghost of the young girl haunts the Brenton Point State Park, crying out for help and trying to warn others of the danger that lurks in the waters. Some people claim to have heard her cries late at night, while others say that they've seen her ghost wandering the halls or the mansion. Whether or not the legend is true, it is a chilling tale that is sure to give anyone who hears this a good scare. At our number 2 spot, we have the ghost of the Hanging Rock. The The ghost of the Hanging Rock is a chilling story that many people in Rhode Island hear about. The legend tells the story of a young woman who was brutally murdered on the rocky cliffs of Narragansett Bay. It was said that the young woman was a beautiful and active member of the local community. She was loved by many and had a bright future ahead of her. However, her life was tragically cut short, and now her ghost is said to haunt the area, appearing as a ghostly figure with long flowing hair. If you decide to take a visit to the bay, chances are you may hear her haunting voice calling out your name. If you do decide to investigate this voice, you will probably feel her presence, with some describing a sense of coldness and fear when they are near the site of that sound. Despite the many theories and stories surrounding the legend of the ghost of the Hanging Rock, the truth about what happened to the young woman remains a mystery, and her ghost continues to haunt the area, serving as a reminder of the terrible tragedy that took place on the rocky cliffs of this bay. At a number 1 spot, we have the Foster Witch. The Foster Witch of Rhode Island is a well-known legend in the state. The story goes that the witch, whose real name is unknown, lived in the town of Foster in the 18th century. She was known for her magic abilities and was often sought out by locals who needed help for various problems. One day, a group of townspeople became fed up with the witch and decided to put an end to her ways. They gathered together and burned her at the stake, but as she was being consumed by the flames, she cursed the town of Foster, saying that it would suffer for what it had done to her. For many years after her death, strange and mysterious events occurred in Foster. Animals would behave oddly, crops would fail, and strange noises could be heard throughout the night. Some have even claimed to see the ghost of the Foster Witch wandering the town, seeking revenge for her death. Eventually, the townspeople realized they needed to make amends for their actions and appease the spirit of the witch. They held a public ceremony during which they apologized for what they had done and promised to honor the witch's memory. From that day on, the strange occurrences in Foster stopped, and the town was able to move on in peace. At number 10 spot, we have the grave with stairs. Just from the photo alone, this is one of the scariest graves I've ever seen. Easy access to the dead, right? Well, this eerie grave belonged to a girl named Florence Irene Ford. Then in 1871, shortly after her 10th birthday, she passed away from yellow fever. So the reason for the stairs, when the daughter was alive, she was always terrified of storms. So you would get the classic mom taking care of her own daughter. But since she has now passed, the mother decided to build stairs down to her casket in order to comfort her daughter when it got stormy. I mean, it's a really sweet idea until you realize it's also really scary. She would go down these stairs, close a trapdoor above her, sit in complete darkness while singing hymns and songs to her daughter. I could only imagine what the people around must have thought when they heard this type of stuff. At number 9 spot, we have the Devil Worshipper Road. Located in Waynesboro, this road's real name is Waynesboro Shibuda Road, or by its more popular name, the Devil Worshipper Road. I know, I read that name and already knew this story was going to be all types of creepy. Story goes that a local farmer was struggling financially, so in hopes to provide for himself, him and his family decided it was best to sell his soul to the devil. He documented the creature that approached him as being 7 feet tall, red glowing eyes, and holding a pitchfork. Many people say that when they drive on this road at night, their car shuts down, leaving them stranded. And imagine just being in the middle of this rural highway in the middle of the night with nothing but trees and trees all around you. For some people, the spirits try to taunt them by shaking up their car until they either crash or have to stop driving completely. Then when your car is shut off, some claim that a half goat, half man will stand on top of your vehicle. This is basically the plot of any horror movie ever. But who knows if it's real, because why would anyone want to go to a road named Devil Worshipper's Road in the first place? At number 8 spot, we have the Weeping Woman of Callaway Hall. During the Civil War in Columbus, Mississippi, there were stories of a nurse who started to fall in love with a wounded soldier. After months in her care, the two would share stories and life experiences, but as the soldier started to heal back up, he quickly returned back into battle. He left, and after many years, he never ended up returning back to the woman. The nurse, who was named Mary, was so heartbroken that she ultimately made the decision to take her own life. She did this by jumping off the clock tower in the middle of the night. Now locals claim that her distraught spirit remains by the Callaway Hall tower to this day. The security guards report that their faucets would turn on and off, and these are the faucets with the handles you need to physically turn, not no hand sensor one. And she got her name because she tends to wake up students in the middle of the night by crying at the end of their beds. So just imagine what that would look like. At our number 7 spot, we have McCredit's disease. If you look up McCredit's online, you won't find much about it. However, if you're from Mississippi, you've probably heard older relatives mention it. Men back in the day, and sometimes until now, would ingest large amounts of lead, which would make them secrete a chemical and would make the women around them descend into a homicidal rage. For example, women who were the friendliest and happiest would turn into irrational and erratic people. The story started in Europe when a man had an angry mob of women running after him after he ingested a good amount of lead. Finding he couldn't do anything about it, he jumped into the well below freezing river, and with no hesitation, all the girls jumped in and ended up drowning. Then it hit Mississippi when a large group of women became hostile and tried to kill every man in town. I don't know about you, but this is absolutely terrifying, but I'm gonna need more data for this. At number 6 spot, we have Goat Castle. In the August of 1932, Jane Surgic Muriel, better known as Jenny, was found murdered in her home. She had only purchased the home recently, but friends noticed at the moment she got it, she was showing very strange behavior. Many people consider that she was trying to live a hermit lifestyle. By the way, she only had visits from her cousin and suspected lover, Duncan. Shortly after, the two of them would start to have issues with their neighbor, Richard Dana and Octavia Dockery. So when she was found murdered, the police immediately suspected it to be the neighbors, Richard and Octavia. Except when the police went to the couple's home to ask questions, the mansion was in complete disarray and was a complete disaster. Painting was peeling, windows were broken, holes were in the walls, and the house was infested with insects. As well, the house contained live animals, including a goat, hence the name. Eventually, the couple was cleared for murder and allowed to go back into their home, except they would pass away shortly. Now it's said that if you walk into the home, you can see an apparition who is believed to be Jenny, seeking revenge for her murder. Right in the hump of our list, we have McRaven Tour Home. This place is sometimes called Mississippi's most haunted house, and for very good reason. The McRaven Tour Home, located at 1445 Harrison Street in Vicksburg, once served as a Confederate campsite and a makeshift hospital. Supposedly, at least 11 people have been buried on the property ground. Many witnesses have reported seeing all of the ghosts who have been buried on the property. These ghosts include Mary Elizabeth Howard, who died during childbirth in the house in 1836. During the siege of Vicksburg, McRaven was transformed into a makeshift hospital. According to local legend, John H. Bob caught some Union soldiers tampering with his crops, became enraged and threw a brick at one of them, and seeking revenge, the soldiers returned later, and that night they killed Bob, making him the third resident to die at McRaven, which he can also be seen walking around the home to this day. At number 4 spot, we have the Witch of Yazoo gravesite. In the middle of the old historic Glenwood Cemetery, there's a chain link surrounding a grave known as the Witch's Grave. According to local legend, a witch lived on the Yazoo River shoreline. This witch would lure in fishermen to tease and torture them for later. Eventually, the frequency of attacks increased and law enforcement was quickly involved. They eventually caught on to her ways and chased her through the swamps, where she half drowned in quicksand. As she sank down, she swore her revenge on Yazoo City and the townspeople, saying, quote, "In 20 years I will return and burn this town to the ground." No one thought of it at the time, and then came May 25th, 1904. The fire of 1904 destroyed more than 200 residents and nearly every business in Yazoo City, which is around 324 buildings in total. The witches' graves also has these chains around them, but apparently they need to be replaced constantly since they continue to be broken off. Do you think it's a witch, or is it just some people messing around the cemetery? What do you think? At number 3 spot, we have Witch Dance at Natchez Trace. Staying on the topic of witches, the forest trails of Natchez Trace, located in Tupelo, Mississippi, are said to have been a popular meeting spot for witches back in the day. The sign in the area reads Witch Dance. The very name conjures visions of eerie midnights, swirling back capes, and brooms stacked against a nearby tree. The old folks say the witches once gathered here to dance, and that wherever their feet touched the ground, the glass withered and died, never to grow again. Impossible? Maybe so, but look around. Look for a hidden spot where no grass grows. So basically, when you see dead grass, witches are said to have danced there, and some of these barren or scorched spots of the ground can still be seen to this day. At number 2 spot, we have the Chautauqua Monster. This is basically Mississippi's Bigfoot. So according to the Pike County legend, a circus train was going down the old Illinois Central Railroad, and in a sudden turn of events, it derailed in the swamps near Chautauqua. Except this circus was not like any regular circus. It apparently had many strange critters and creatures on board, one of them being a half man, half ape hybrid, which appeared as a large hairy creature. This creature was very hostile and would attack any person or animal that got too close. So a search party was quickly put together to capture this beast, but they left empty-handed and the monster was never seen again. At number 1 spot, we have Robert Johnson and the Crossroads. This is probably the most original story that related crossroads with selling your soul to the devil. So there's that. So for those who don't know the legend, Robert Johnson was a semi-lackluster guitar player until he decided to journey to the crossroads of Highway 49 and 61 in Clarksdale. This is where he famously made a deal with the devil, where he would sell his soul in exchange for a formidable technique and mastery of the blues. His style did a complete 180, and his style took over jazz with its unique flair. Legend has that 3 of his most hauntingly desperate recordings, Crossroad Blues, Hellhounds on My Trail, and Me and the Devil Blues, are a trilogy of his deal with the devil. And guess how old he is when he died? Yup, 27 years old. At number 10 spot, we have the Tommyknockers. The legend of the Tommyknockers originates from the state of New Mexico. The legend follows a group of miners when they stumbled upon a strange and powerful object buried deep within the earth. As they began to excavate it, they were overcome by its strange energy, which transformed them into these bizarre, violent creatures. These creatures were known as the Tommyknockers and were infamous for their ability to knock on the walls and ceilings of mines, warning other miners to stay away. The legend goes on to say that the Tommyknockers were incredibly powerful, with superhuman strength and the ability to control the minds of those around them. They all roamed the mines, causing destruction and mayhem wherever they went. Despite their fearsome reputation, some believe that the Tommyknockers could be reasoned with, and attempted to communicate with them in order to understand their motivations. While some people, on the other hand, believe that the legend of the Tommyknockers is based on a real event that occurred in New Mexico, which had a bunch of trapped miners. However, others viewed a purely fictional tale. Over the years, many people have come forward to speak about their encounter with the Tommyknocker, which only adds to this creature's mystery more. At a number 9 spot, we have a witch's heart. The legend of the witch's heart in New Mexico tells the story of a powerful witch who lived in the forest near a small village. She was said to be able to cast spells and control the elements, and many people were afraid of her because of that. One day, the witch fell in love with a young man from the village, and she cast a spell on him to make him fall in love in return. The young man, however, did not want to be with this witch and tried to resist her spell at all costs. The witch became very angry and threatened to destroy the village if the young man did not return her love. Talk about needy. The villagers, who were afraid for their lives, pleaded with the young man to give in to the witch's demands, but the young man was brave and refused to give into it. Now the witch was extremely pissed, and she decided to cast a powerful spell that caused the ground to shake and the trees to sway. She summoned a storm that raged for 3 days and 3 nights, causing destruction and chaos throughout the entire village. Finally, the young man, with the help of other villagers, was able to confront the witch and break her spell. The witch's heart was filled with so much anger and hatred that it just turned to stone, and she was never seen again. The villagers say that if you listen closely on a stormy night, you can still hear the witch's heart beating beneath the ground, a reminder of the power of love and the dangers of anger and hatred. At a number 8 spot, we have Haunted Mesa. The legend of the Haunted Mesa in New Mexico dates back to the early 1800s. According to the legend, the mesa was once home to a Native American tribe who lived in harmony with the land and its natural resources. But as time passed by, the tribe grew greedy and began to exploit the land. They would strip it of its resources and cause great harm to the environment because of it. As a punishment for their actions, the spirits of the land rose up and cursed the tribe, causing them to be consumed by a terrible darkness. The tribe was never seen again, and the mesa has been haunted ever since by the spirits of the land. They are said to still roam the area at night, searching for those who dare to desecrate the land. Many people have reported strange and eerie occurrences on the Haunted Mesa, including ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and mysterious lights. Some have even claimed to see the ghosts of the Native American tribe still wandering the mesa in search of redemption. Despite these stories, the Haunted Mesa remains a popular destination for hikers and adventurers who are drawn to its rugged beauty and eerie atmosphere. Some say the spirits of the land are still watching over the mesa, protecting it from those who would seek to harm it. So if you hike here, stride carefully. At a number 7 spot, we have a Witch's Bridge. The Witch's Bridge is a legendary structure said to be located in New Mexico, although the exact location is unknown. According to the legend, the bridge was built by a woman who was shunned by the community because they believed she was a witch. The woman, who was determined to get her revenge, constructed this bridge using her own blood and bone, imbuing it with dark magic as well. As the story goes, anyone who crosses the bridge will be cursed with bad luck and misfortune for their entire lives. Some say that the bridge is guarded by the spirit of the witch, who emerges at night to haunt and terrorize hikers. Others believe that the curse can only be lifted by performing a complex ritual at the side of the bridge. Despite the legend, there is actually no evidence of a bridge matching the description in New Mexico. It is likely the story is a tall tale or a piece of folklore, rather than a true account of events. However, that does not stop people from being intrigued by the legend and people going out searching for this bridge. At a number 6 spot, we have a man in the black hat. The man in the black hat is a mysterious figure who is said to haunt the deserts of New Mexico. Some say that the man in the black hat was a gunfighter or a bandit who roamed the desert, preying on travelers and settlers who ventured too far from civilization. Others claim that he was a ghost or a spirit haunting the land and seeking revenge on those who had wronged him in life. Despite the many different variations of the legend, one thing remains constant. The man in the black hat was a fearsome and dangerous figure, feared by all those who came in contact with him. He is said to wear a black hat, a long coat, and a pair pair of guns by his side, and was said to be incredibly fast and extremely deadly with a gun. There's even one story of him single-handedly defeating a group of 10 raiders in less than a minute in an attempt to just save some settlers. Despite his heroic deeds, however, the man in the black hat was never seen again, and his fate remains a mystery to this day. Some say that he simply vanished into the deserts, never to be seen again, while others believe that he met his end at the hands of another enemy. Maybe he finally found peace and moved on to the afterlife. Haven't we thought about that? In the hump of our list, we have the hanging tree. The legend of the hanging tree in New Mexico dates back to the 1800s when the area was a wild and lawless frontier. According to the legend, the hanging tree was a large tree located in the center of town, where criminals and outlaws were brought to justice by being hanged from its sturdy branches. The most famous story associated with the hanging tree is that of a notorious outlaw named Billy the Kid, who is said to have been hanged from the tree after being captured by a posse of vigilantes. Despite its reputation as a place of justice and punishment, the hanging tree was also said to be cursed, and many people believe that anyone who were hung from this tree would be doomed to haunt the town for eternity. Over the time, the tree became a symbol of fear and dread, and people avoided it at all costs, even during the day. Eventually, the town decided to cut down the hanging tree and burn it to the ground in an effort to rid the town of its dark history and the supposed curse that was said to be associated with it. Today, all that remains of the hanging tree is a small plaque on the spot where it once stood. At a number 4 spot, we have a witch's ladder. The legend of the witch's ladder in New Mexico tells the story of a powerful witch who lived in the mountains and was known for casting spells and curses on those who crossed her. One day, a group of travelers stumbled upon her cabin and asked for shelter for the night. The witch agreed, but she secretly cast a curse on them. Desperate to break the curse, the travelers sought help from a wise woman who told them that they must climb to the top of the mountain and gather a handful of the witch's hair in order to break the curse for good. The travelers managed to do this, but the witch chased after them using all of the spells she knew. Using the hair as a talisman, the travelers outran the witch and made their way back down the mountain, where they burned the hair and finally broke the curse. From that day on, the mountain was known as the Witch's Ladder. Despite the fact that the legend of the Witch's Ladder is just a story, it continues to be told and retold in the American Southwest, reminding us of the power and determination and the importance of standing up to those who seek to do us harm. At number 3 spot, we have the Curse of the Full Moon. The Curse of the Full Moon is a popular tale told to many in New Mexico, and it involves a powerful medicine man who placed a curse on the land to protect it from the actions of early European settlers. The legend goes that the medicine man was a powerful shaman who had the ability to communicate with the spirits of the land and the animals that lived there. He was deeply connected to the natural world, and he would have a great reverence for the land and its inhabitants. However, when the European settlers arrived, they began to disregard the sacredness of the land and its inhabitants. They would cut down trees, hunt down the animals, and they would pollute the waters. The medicine man was outraged by the settlers' actions, and he decided to curse the land with a very powerful spell. And whenever the moon was full, the curse was said to be at its strongest, causing even more misfortune for those who dared to defy the spirits. Over time, the legend became well known throughout the region, and this is when people began to fear the power of the spirits and the curse. At a number 2 spot, we have the ghost lights. The legend of the ghost lights in New Mexico dates back to the time of the Native Americans who inhabited the region. According to the legend, the ghost lights were spirits of the dead who roamed the earth in search of their loved ones. These spirits were said to be the souls of warriors who were killed in battle, or of women and children who had died of disease or other natural causes. The ghost lights were said to appear as glowing orbs of light that floated through the air, moving silently and without any apparent direction. Many people have claimed to have seen the ghost lights and described them as eerie and settling, and some even reported feeling a sense of fear or dread when the lights were present. Despite this, however, many people also found that the ghost lights to be fascinating and mysterious, and they often went out of their way to try and catch a glimpse of these elusive spirits. In the recent years, the legend of the ghost lights in New Mexico has taken on a new dimension, with some people claiming to have captured video footage or photographs of the light. So if you guys want to see, go search it up on Google, and I promise you, you'll find one photo with it. At a number 1 spot, we have the Taos hum. The Taos hum is a mysterious low-frequency sound that has been reported in the town of Taos, New Mexico. It is described as a faint droning sound that is similar to the hum of a distant engine or the drone of a bee. Some people claim to hear the hum constantly, while others hear it occasionally. The source of the Taos hum is unknown, and there are many theories about what could be causing it. Some believe that it is a natural phenomenon caused by geological activity or atmospheric conditions. Others speculate that it is the result of human activities such as underground military bases or secret experiments. One of the most popular theories of this is caused by aliens. According to the theory, the hum is a signal or communication from an extraterrestrial civilization. Some people even claim to have experienced strange encounters or sightings of unidentified flying objects in the area where the hum is heard. Despite the many theories, no one has been able to definitely explain the Taos hum. The phenomenon remains a mystery and continues to fascinate and intrigue those who have experienced it. Some even claim that the hum has a strange, almost hypnotic effect on those who hear it, causing them to feel disoriented or dizzy. At number 10 spot, we have the White Lady of Balit Drive. Every country has their own version of the White Lady ghost, and the Philippines is no exception to that. The country started to dread and avoid Balit Drive since the 1950s, when stories about a white lady floating around its streets started to spread around the area. The story goes that a white lady is a student of the University of the Philippines. The woman was the victim to a horrific crime committed by a taxi driver who picked her up, which caused her to pass away. Now, it's said that the ghost of the lady haunts that very street, and its preferred victims are cab drivers. Her ghost dresses up in a white gown, dressed with long hair covering her face like a veil. Drivers who drive on Balit Drive would often drive not knowing that the white lady was silently sitting in their back seat. The only way they find out about this is if they look in their rearview mirror, which they will find the lady in white staring back right at them. This is said to be the reason for all of the accidents on that street, so would you take your chances or would you just take the longer detour?
Now at number 9, the Romblon Triangle. If the North Atlantic has the so-called Bermuda Triangle, the Philippines also has something very similar, and it's called the Romblon Triangle, which is located in the Sibuyan Sea with its three corners at Mindoro, Panay, and Masbate, in the province of Romblon. The triangle covers a very small area, but due to the countless marine disasters in this area, people started talking about the Philippines version of the Devil's Triangle. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard insists that the shipwrecks in the Romblon Triangle are due to the bad weather and technical failure, and nothing mystical. But with that many issues happening within that area, they won't be able to keep calling it bad weather for much longer. Unless it is actually bad weather, but I guess we won't know.
At number 8 spot, we have the My Way Curse. The My Way Curse, or might I say, the My Way Killings, is a social phenomenon in my home country, the Philippines. The Philippines has all these type of weird, creepy stories, but I swear it was just a way for our parents to keep us obedient. The curse is linked to the song My Way by Frank Sinatra. Oddly enough, since 2002, there have been unusually high numbers of death linked to this song, especially when people are singing it during a karaoke performance. I mean, this seems like a pretty strange coincidence, but it has been reported on news organizations all around the world, including the renowned New York Times. Due to the negative attention this phenomenon received, bars in the Philippines were completely compelled to totally remove it from their karaoke players. This song is still forbidden in many pubs today, and you risk being ejected from the bar altogether if you attempt to play it.
Number 7, Flying Coffin. It's normal to see a coffin, though it typically gives us the creeps and goosebumps. But seeing a flying coffin in the middle of the road at night? Well, that's a different thing. Filipinos suggest that the flying coffin is one of the most popular horror stories shared with people. This horror story was even featured in a Halloween special of a TV show. The story is about a man walking in the middle of the night and he sees a flying or floating coffin in the middle of the road, and it then started to quickly fly towards him and almost hit him in the head when all of a sudden it disappeared. This left him horrified, and the story is still known nowadays, especially during Halloween. This one could be true, but it also could maybe just be a campfire story.
At a number 6 spot, we have the Bao Bao. The Bao Bao, otherwise known as the grave robber, is rightfully named that. It's a terrifying humanoid that is known to steal corpses from funerals or a grave to consume them later on. Stories say that the Bao Bao is an undead creature with claws that can rip through flesh, along with razor sharp teeth and a long tongue to effectively consume humans. It uses its long tongue to lick the flesh and suck out the blood of its victims. It's said that once the Bao Bao finishes eating a corpse, it leaves the trunk of a banana tree in the coffin to create the illusion of a stolen corpse. He is often regarded as an aswang as well. For all you non-Filipinos, aswangs are these creatures that haunted all points of our lives. They're basically these humanoids who separate their lower half of the body in order to fly around and attack unsuspecting babies. Man, the monsters in the Philippines are very creative.
Halfway at number 5, the headless priest. It said that the student was studying late at night at a school library and heard the sound of chains being dragged. When she checked who was making the noise, she found a priest, a headless priest. The priests played a vital role in Philippine history. They were the ones who led the church, and they were also the ones who taught the students in class during the Spanish era. As their name suggests, these clergymen hang out in universities, graveyards, churches, and other places that feel spooky. They sometimes bring their heads with them and seem to be looking for them when they don't. As for their heads, people said that they're either Filipino revolutionaries during the revolution or Japanese soldiers during World War II, cut off the heads of these priests. Other stories about biblical figures whose lives were taken, like St. John the Baptist, have also helped spread urban legends about priests.
All the way at a number 4 spot, we have the Clark Air Base Hospital. This is one of the few places deemed to be haunted, not just in the Philippines, but in the whole world by the Ghost Hunters International. Season 1, episode 20, named Unknown Soldiers, if you guys want to check it out. The hospital was used during World War II and the Vietnam War. It served as an asylum to the wounded and the dying American soldiers. This is why many people around the world claim it is the most haunted place in the Philippines. It's said that the traumas and countless deaths from those conflicts have left their mark on the spirit presence in the hospital. The place is currently abandoned, which gives it this more supernatural look to it, but it's said that if you visit the hospital and sleep within 8 hours after the visit, you experience extreme nightmares and intense lucid dreaming for about a week.
Now at number 3, Diplomat Hotel. The Diplomat Hotel is one of the go-to places for ghost hunters from different parts of the world. In fact, this hotel was featured in documentaries from different countries because of its dark history. The Diplomat Hotel is believed to be built during the early 1900s. This was built to become a vacation house for the Spaniards, priests, and nuns. This hotel is home to many happy and beautiful memories, but all of these changed during World War II. According to the stories, when the Japanese came, they gathered all the people in the hotel, separated them into different rooms, and took all of their lives. The people in the hotel were shot, beheaded, and stabbed. The worst part is the center of the hotel, where the fountain is located in the same place where the children were gathered and their lives were unfortunately taken. After World War II, the vacation house was converted into a hotel, but another tragic incident happened. A fire started in the hotel, and many guests who were staying there unfortunately passed away, which is another reason for the hotel to be haunted. The people working and visiting the hotel have experienced many scary encounters. Most of the people who visited the hotel have almost the same heavy feeling as many people are looking at them.
At a number 2 spot, we have the Malacanang Palace. This extravagant building was used for the official residence and workplace for the President of the Philippines. I covered a video on the White House, and I can confirm nothing good comes from government buildings. Literally nothing. This building is located in the Old Manila district of San Miguel, and this building was built all the way back in 1705, so it has a lot of history, including some dark moments. It used to be the home of every nationality that colonized us, from the Spanish leaders to the Japanese leaders. All sorts of ghostly apparitions are said to reside in the area, such as those of soldiers and children.
Now coming in at number 1, San Juanico Bridge. When Typhoon Yolanda hit the country and almost erased vast areas in Leyte and Tacloban, the over 40 years old San Juanico Bridge remains strong and steady. Impressive, right? Well, what could be the secret to its strength? Legend says that the longevity and strength of the San Juanico Bridge joining the two islands is due to the countless children sacrificed during its construction. Former First Lady Imelda Marcos had allegedly conspired the kidnapping of street kids or random babies from Leyte and Samar, and had offered them in a demonic ritual, mixing their blood with the concrete. At the time, Imelda headed the construction of the bridge, and reportedly performed the sacrifice upon a fortune teller who said children's blood was needed for the project's completion. Bodies of the sacrificed children were then thrown down the bridge. So whenever there are haunting incidences on the bridge, people will remember the story about the unknown children sacrificed here. Starting off at number 10, Gitche-Manitou Murders. The Gitche-Manitou is a nature preserve just southeast of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in the northeastern corner of Iowa that many believe is haunted. It has ancient Native American burial grounds, has witnessed the execution of 4 teens, and has been the site of an assault of a young child. In November of 1973, 5 teens from Sioux Falls went out camping in the area. The unsuspecting group was sitting by a fire with some green leafy substances when suddenly a shotgun went off. Roger SM, who was 17, instantly passed away by brothers Alan, David, and James Fryer, who descended on the group pretending to be cops. They separated the remaining 3 boys from the only girl, 13-year-old Sandra Chesky. and placed the girl in the back of their truck. Then the Fryer brothers lined up Stuart Bade, 15, with his little brother Dana Bade, 14, and friend Michael Hardoth, who was 15, and executed them. The little girl was kept alive and taken advantage of by James Fryer. She later identified the attackers and testified against them. They were sentenced to life in prison, but locals on both sides, Iowa and South Dakota, believe their horrible crimes still haunt the area. Number 9. Spook Road. Known to locals as Spook Road, this eerie stretch just outside of Brandon, South Dakota has quite the collection of creepy occurrences. Winding through tunnels, running over bridges, and lined in trees, locals claim this road is especially unnerving in the fall of winter months. There are many theories about the road, including one claim if you drive away from the town and count the number of turns, and then drive back and count them, you will end up with different numbers. Like driving in one direction will take you over 5 bridges, but on the way back you'll only cross 4. As if this wasn't weird enough, many cars have also wrecked on this road, which often leaves drivers with an unsettled feeling. While some people believe Spook Road is mere folklore, others will defend it to the end, with some die-hard believers even creating a Facebook group about Spook Road. Allegedly, people who also take their own lives here can still be seen hanging from both bridges and the trees, their bulging eyes watching you as you cross in horror. Number 8. Orpheum Theater. In Sioux Falls, South Dakota sits the historic Orpheum Theater, with its very own ghost. The spirit, fondly referred to as Larry, may or may not be the ghost of an actor who disappeared during a dress rehearsal many years ago. Allegedly, the sound of a gunshot rang out from the light booth. When his fellow actors ran up to investigate, all that remained was a pool of blood and no body was ever found. The theater first opened in 1913, but changed hands in 1954. The new owners allegedly found a casket in the boiler room, but when they came back later to clean things out, the casket was gone. Reports of strange noises and sightings of a shadow figure became common in the old theater, and one of the more intriguing reports happened in 1959. Actor Ray Loftusness became one of the many to see this shadow man on the balcony. On that particular night, he said Larry was illuminated by the green and blue lights that was pointing directly at him. He claimed that he was hit by an icy blast of air. Then twice that night, he was assaulted by falling sandbags and was even knocked unconscious. Number 7. Sitka Hollow. The Dakota Sioux Native Americans were said to have once hunted in the forest ravines known as Sitka Hollow. That is, until they realized it was haunted and put a warning on its name. Sitka means evil, and there are several legends that have come out of the state park. It's believed evil is steeped into every nook and cranny of this area, which is why water runs red in the Sitka Hollow Springs. Never mind the mineral content, it's pure evil. The path referred to as the Trial of Spirits has bubbling red bogs and was believed by the Sioux to be the flesh and blood of their ancestors. Between all the red water, swamp gas, and tree stumps glowing in the dark, it's no wonder they thought this place was evil. Perhaps they were right. There was a rash of mysterious disappearances in the 1970s. Paired with sightings of a half-man, half-beast similar to Bigfoot in these woods. Even today, visitors have claimed to see spirits of Indians in addition to hearing voices, war cries, and chanting. This one certainly seems terrifying for sure, and definitely not a place I would want to visit. Number 6. 1880 Train Haunting. The 1880 train that runs through Hill City is rumored to be another one of the most haunted places in South Dakota. While some of the train cars are used at the current tourist attraction, many remain abandoned. Some employees have specifically mentioned seeing a man standing in the back of the eating car, only to disappear seconds later. It said that the man was crossing the tracks and accidentally got stuck and unfortunately passed away while trying to break free, and his soul now haunts the train that took his life. Trains didn't really freak me out before, but now hearing this story, I'm pretty freaked out. Halfway at number 5, Walking Sam. The Pine Ridge Indian Reservation has had an alarmingly high rate of people taking their own lives amongst their youth, and it's believed an urban legend is responsible for this. The land is being stalked by an evil, an ancient entity that takes the form of Walking Sam, like the Tall Man, Slender Man, and the long-feared Stickman. This creature feeds on the living, infecting their minds and altering their thoughts. In the case of Walking Sam, his evil bidding is collecting the souls of people who take their own lives so he doesn't have to wander the earth alone. He stands around 7 feet tall, has no mouth, and has gangly limbs. When his arms are outstretched, you can see the bodies of Lakota men and women hanging from them. Since December of 2014, Pine Ridge has had 103 attempts of people trying to take their own life, with 9 people unfortunately succeeding. The youngest was only 12 and the oldest was just 24. Thankfully, church leader Pastor John Tubles discovered and prevented one of these plans from being carried out. He and a few other adults found a group of teenagers with rope already hanging from the trees. Another group of teens, all female, tried to carry out a similar plan but were stopped in time. But no one has been able to answer the biggest question: why? Tribe leaders, local mental health professionals, and law enforcement are scratching their heads on what is causing this. Number 4, Little Devils. The Spirit Mound near Vermilion has been long feared by Native Americans. They wouldn't dare go near it because of the legend of the Little Devils, who guard the mound mounds, attacking anyone who tries to climb them with magic arrows. The legend was first documented in 1804 and tells of the massacre that makes the mounds taboo today. However, people say it seems to have existed since long before then. Somewhere around the mid-18th century, hundreds of Indian warriors allegedly attempted to rid the world of evil little creatures, but it was they who ended up slaughtered instead. So now they stay away and leave the mounds to little devils. Number 3, Hookie Jack. A famous ghost from Rapid City, South Dakota is Hookie Jack. In life, his name was John Leary, but after a mining explosion in the 1800s, he lost both of his arms and one eye. His arms were replaced with hooks, hence the name Hookie Jack. He became a Rapid City police officer, but tragically passed away after being struck by a car in 1926. Now his spirit is said to haunt his former residence, which has since been converted into a tavern. According to legend, Hookie Jack lived on the 3rd floor and can still be heard roaming up there today. Employees don't even want to venture to that floor unless they absolutely must. Many employees have even refused to work the closing shift alone. Voices, rattling, and eerie sounds can all be heard upstairs at night. Strange flashing lights and spirit orbs have been caught on security footage. Multiple witnesses have seen chairs, tables, and the billiard balls moving around the table on their own. A few bartenders even claim to have seen a figure sit at the end of the bar out of the corner of their eye, only to look up and realize no one's there. Number 2, Devil's Gulch. One of the most famous urban legends in South Dakota happened in the town of Garriston. According to the local lore, infamous outlaw Jesse James successfully evaded capture in 1876 by leaping over the Devil's Gulch on horseback. Keep in mind that the Devil's Gulch is a ravine that runs 60 feet deep and is 20 feet wide. Jumping over something that massive without spooking a horse is highly improbable, and most historians would say it's impossible, but that doesn't stop locals from swearing it happened. Number 1, Hotel Alex Johnson. A hotel so surely haunted they actually advertise it right on their website. Come take a tour or stay at this haunted mansion. One of the main ghosts claimed to be seen here is the hotel's namesake, Alex Johnson himself. It is said that he comes around to make sure the hotel is still running well, but does he have any malicious intent? Why don't you book a stay and test the theory yourself? If you dare, that is.